Welcome, everyone. We're excited to be talking with Alan Chen, a product marketing manager with Caterpillar. And Alan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I guess my first question is, I know that you're going to be at ConExpo. We're excited to be going to ConExpo. What are you most excited about, and what are your thoughts about being back after the pandemic?
Yeah, Lori, I guess this will be my first time at ConExpo personally. However, I know that we've had a big presence for a number of years, especially pre-pandemic. So on behalf of Caterpillar, IPSD, we are excited to return to the scene after the pandemic, see some of our customers, see some of the dealers, maybe even catch up with some of our competitors out there. But we are excited to show some of our products, what we've been working on, and talk a little bit about the future of what we're planning to offer.
That's exciting. My first ConExpo too, so we're both ConExpo newbies. So we'll have to compare notes and chat after we're done with that. So that's very exciting. Congrats on your first ConExpo.
Thank you.
So we're wanting to talk about some information around selecting power sources and sizing and things like that. So my first question for you is, what data about an asset and the asset's application do you need to help a customer select a power source and that source's size?
Right. I guess at the very beginning of it, when someone's trying to select a power source, they want to know how much power can be provided, right? No matter what the solution is, it could be an engine, it could be a battery, it could be something. But how much power do they need? And we would start to talk about, what kind of different kind of solutions we can provide them. But beyond power, depending on someone's application, they may worry about things like responsiveness, how quickly you want that power. We call that transient responsiveness, or how much torque that customer needs, and how many seconds, how quickly it is. But then you move on to things that maybe are often glossed over, but are extremely important. Things like, where are you running this application? Is it going to be at high altitude? Are you going to be running this in a really cold environment? So some of the things we extract from the customers would be, what are the altitude and ambient requirements? And then, of course, in a world of electrification, in a world of carbon emissions reductions, we have to ask, which countries are these going into? So how sensitive are they going to be to carbon? And then more on that, how sensitive are they to fluids or fuel consumptions? Assuming this customer wants like an engine, for example, how good do they want that fuel consumption to be? And are they willing to maybe sacrifice some power so that they can get a little better fuel consumption? But these are just, I guess, some examples. Obviously, there's a lot more out there as to how you pick a power source.
Yeah, that very true. So what are the environmental and functional issues that occur when a power source is oversized?
That's a good question. Well, first and foremost, if the power source is oversized, I immediately jump to thinking that it's a little too heavy or it's a little too big for the application, which, depending on that application, let's say it's a truck or something like that, that means it's got less payload capacity, it's got less payload capabilities, which means unless the customer wants to design and upgrade their vehicle or their machine to be larger, to handle a larger power size, then they maybe not want to go with something that's a little oversized, and that they actually want something that's right-sized. So switching gears on that, though, when an engine, let's say, in this example, is oversized, they most of the times are not performing at a peak fuel efficiency. And that's because usually when we're sculpting out an engine, when we're calibrating, when we're designing this engine, we really want the customer to utilize the engine to its fullest potential, right? So therefore, we often pick the best points for fuel consumption at the higher performing nodes. So let's say you take an oversized engine and you run it at low power, right? Because you think you want a bigger engine, but you don't really want to push it that much. Well, that actually comes at a penalty, and oftentimes that comes at a penalty of fuel consumption. So I guess if I could summarize on engine size or right sizing, we would say that if you want to have the correct amount of power and you want as little fuel consumption or as optimal, I'll say, fuel consumption as possible, then you really want to pick a power source that's right-sized and not oversized. And furthermore, I mean, fuel directly translates to how much greenhouse gases you'll be putting into the atmosphere. So if you're burning more fuel than you really need to be, then you're putting the environment at risk as well.
Great, perfectly understandable there. So you've mentioned a couple, but what are the benefits of a properly sized power source?
Right. So assuming that the power source is correctly sized, I mean, first and foremost, your customer will get the performance that they expected, the productivity that they expected when they picked that power source. But also what I mentioned earlier was, optimal fuel consumption. And within all of that package, as well as weight, will be optimally sized. And hopefully that means that their machine is optimally sized.
So we've already talked about being at ConExpo. So will we see some new products that address some of these issues at the Caterpillar booth, which is S84329 in the South Hall?
Absolutely. If you're at ConExpo, yes, absolutely stop by our booth. We have some of these new products that I've been talking about that address some of these issues. I mean, you'll see some of CAT's latest technologies under development, as well as our newest prototype product that we're excited to premiere. And this new prototype will be the perfect example of right sizing a power source in order to optimize your fuel consumption and hopefully therefore reduce some greenhouse gas emissions.
That sounds perfect. So if you're at ConExpo, stop by booth S84329. Talk to Alan at his first ConExpo about the new technology, and I know that we will be stopping by to visit and get to take a look at that as well.
That's good.
So
see you there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Safe travels, and we will see you in Vegas.